You wouldn't steal a font.
10 out of 10, perfect irony. Could not get better. Yeah, I don't think people realize how much artistic effort goes into creating a font.
Amazon startup sells a $20,000 truck that actually looks like a truck.
So as a truck owner myself, I am in love with this truck. Haven't really understood why no one has been making a just basic truck in the US.
Hello, how the tech are you? This is our weekly tech show on Eplex Media. We talk about tech news and science news and whatever tech and science stuff we feel like talking about. I am historian Matt. I am a co-producer and co-host on this show. And my other co-host, co-producer will introduce himself for his segment. In the meantime, I'm just going to jump straight into my first story. I got two stories and they're both kind of fun. We'll see about that. But the first one is lots of fun. And basically the title I have for my first story is You Wouldn't Steal a Font. So what am I talking about? I don't know. Do you remember that old anti-piracy video that was going around for a long time, or the ad that was going around for a long time called You Wouldn't Steal a Car? It was by the Motion Picture Association of America, or MPAA. It's about the mid-2000s when it came out. And it was kind of a big deal. There's a lot of good parodies out there. I think the IT Crowd did one that was really good, a good parody of it. But as it turns out, I know it's a long time ago, but just came out recently that evidence suggests that the ad used pirated version of the iconic font in that particular ad campaign. And if you remember the ad, the font was pretty obvious. It was I was kind of going to explain it like it was supposed to look like spray painted font, but it was a little bit messy. It wasn't a clearly spray painted. Well, the original font is called apparently FF Confidential. It was created by Just Van Rossum. So that last name Van Rossum, if I can pronounce it correctly, it may sound familiar because he's actually the brother of Guido Van Rossum, who is the creator of the Python programming language, which is a very popular programming language, especially right now. But that's not important. The important thing is that it was a font that was created way back in the day by this person. And apparently later there was a pirated version called X-Band Rough. Where the name came from or how it came to be is kind of confusing. It came from like a video game or something. I don't remember, but it apparently is. It was almost a direct copy of the FF Confidential that somehow found its way out into the wild and apparently made its way. It first appeared in a PDF file released by the MPAA related to the ad campaign, and it's unclear if the actual font, this pirated version of the font, was used in the video ad itself, but it seems likely. We wouldn't really actually know for sure until we get the source files, or if we can get the source files from the original ad. But that's where we're at. It looks like it's a pirated or stolen font. What do you think, HK or Sylph now?
Peak irony.
Yeah.
Just absolutely 10 out of 10 perfect irony. Could not get better.
Yeah. I don't think there's going to be any legal blowback, but it's quite funny. And I guess it's been known for a while, or I don't know why it came out just recently, even though it's almost 20 years ago. This ad was actually came out and was popular. But yeah, it's something happened that recently, so they released something that made it important. I don't know. People just stood up and noticed.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how much artistic effort goes into creating a font.
Yeah.
Fonts are very technical. They have they can be very simple. They can just have a few glyphs if you really if your font doesn't have support for any languages outside of Latin, you could just have the Latin numbers and then some letters and some symbols and get by just fine with that. But some of these big fonts, some of these ones that are put out by Microsoft and Adobe, and then all the the big type foundries like Linotype, and then others that are I'm blanking on right now. These include thousands or tens of thousands of glyphs. and artists actually have to create those glyphs. You know, there's not like an automated way to create glyphs for like all these different symbols in all these different languages. And these like design guides for a font can be really complex. You know, there are font features that I don't think a lot of people realize adds even more complexity to a font. One of the things that adds a lot of complexity to a font is ligatures. A ligature is the name for when you have two glyphs right next to each other that kind of combine into one symbol. So, for example, like an F and an I, the tittle of the I, which is the name of the dot at the top of a lowercase I, might combine with the kind of I don't actually know the technical name for the top of the F, but you know how you got that hook on the top of the F that goes into the I's tittle might fall inside that little hook, and they combine together to look good. Or, you know, two T's right next to each other could use the same cross across both of them. So there's a lot of artistic effort that goes into these fonts, and for MPAA of all organizations to just steal one is like crazy.
Well, I think to be fair, they didn't just like steal it. It's this pirated font has been floating around on the internet for a long time, and they probably didn't realize that it was a pirated font. They probably thought it was, you know, just a free font that was out there.
I'm sure that'll hold up in court.
Yeah, I mean, it's the MPAA, so like really they probably should do some research or something.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is they didn't just like grab somebody's font randomly, right? Like just randomly steal somebody's font. But yeah, they didn't do their due process there on fonts.
Due diligence. Yeah, due process is something that doesn't exist in the United States anymore.
Correct.
Yeah, fun for us.
Diligence. Yeah.
All right. What you got next?
I'll move on to my next one. It's a little less fun, but it's still interesting. It's basically Amazon startup sells a $20,000 truck that actually looks like a truck, unlike another truck we cover on here often. But we're talking about Slate Auto. You probably heard about it, but we're going to go over it again, hopefully get some extra detail in here. But it's basically, okay, so I said it's Amazon. It's really backed by Jeff Bezos. I mean, it's basically the same thing, right? It's an EV startup, is Slate Auto, and it has unveiled its first EV, which is the Slate truck. And the truck is a stripped down EV truck with manual windows, no infotainment system or any screens at all. There should be an asterisk at the end of that sentence, but we'll talk about that in a second. The truck has a claimed range of 150 miles, but can be upgraded to 240 mile range. And the price of $20,000 includes, to get the price basically down to $20,000, it includes the federal clean vehicle tax credit, which may or may not exist in the near future. So it's again another asterisk there. I think just if it's not included, it's like ends up being like $26,000 or something like that. It's still a pretty good deal for a truck. And the idea was to make a very basic truck that is very cheap. You can also get a flat pack accessory kit thing, a flat pack accessory SUV kit that will turn the truck into a 5-seat SUV if you want that really instead. But it's not like you probably can just buy it as an SUV, but the idea is it's kind of like a do-it-yourself kind of kit to convert the truck into an SUV. And the Slate truck is expected to go into production in 2026. And apparently I didn't put in my other asterisks. So basically the truck is stripped down. It has manual windows and no infotainment system or screen at all. But pretty much, like, even though people have been, like other news organizations have been reporting on that, the truth is, like, that's the base truck and you can get it with like nothing, but you can also get all this stuff added. You can add the infotainment center, you can add speakers. I think you can get it with, instead of rolled windows, you can actually get the powered windows, right? So all of that stuff is just added separately. You have to pay more, but the idea of the truck is you can buy a very basic one and just upgrade it as needed, and just have the stuff that you need in a truck. So what do you think, Self?
So as a truck owner myself, I am in love with this truck. obviously I've never driven one, so I don't know what the actual experience would be like, but I don't see anything from like the production materials that they've put out yet tells me, danger, avoid. The range is a little low. 150 miles is quite low for an EV, but it does do fast charging, so at least you wouldn't be sitting there, at a charger for 40 minutes every 150 miles. It's probably more like 20 minutes at a charger, unless you do the upgraded range to 240 miles. I mean, again, we would just have to see in the real world how that actually plays out. But I absolutely love that it's just a truck. It's just a basic. Haven't really understood why no one has been making a just basic truck in the US. Like every time I go and look at trucks, it's like, well, you can buy this monster behemoth truck that you really don't want because there are so many downsides to having an absolute fucking beast on the road. Or you can buy this reasonably sized truck from the 1994 that has all old safety features. It's got 250,000 miles on the odometer. Good luck with that one. Yeah. There's no modern truck that's just the size of the old Ford Rangers. So I'm absolutely in love with this, and I love the idea of it just has crank windows and it doesn't even have a stereo. I love that.
You can add it on separately if you want.
Yeah, but I don't need to. I have a truck, or I have a phone, I have a Bluetooth speaker, I have hands that can operate crank windows. I'm fine with that. I'd rather have basic features than spend extra money on fancy stuff I don't need.
The funny thing is, some people were mentioning that for the crank windows and stuff, it doesn't make a lot of sense since the actual powered window stuff is super cheap. It doesn't really add that much to a truck to add powered windows. But whatever, it's people want it. They and I think they have the option of adding it in later, but I'm not sure.
My first car
pretty cool.
had crank windows, and I was always fine with it. I guess it's probably because I'm tall, so I have these long arms that can reach across, to the passenger side. So with barely leaning at all, I could roll down the passenger side window. But I could see, if you had shorter arms or if you had mobility issues, absolutely power windows would be a necessity. But I do like just having the option, having it be optional. Absolutely love that. And the stereo too. Just having the stereo be optional is so great. Because you really don't need one. Most people have a Bluetooth speaker. I have a Bluetooth speaker that sounds just as good as my car stereo. I could pop that in the back of the truck and boom, I got stereo sound over Bluetooth. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I don't really know much of the specs of the truck other than it doesn't have much of anything. So I don't know how big the bed of the truck is, right? Or the overall size.
I saw it was it's a 5-foot bed, so about the same as a crew cab, a bigger truck with a crew cab, and you can put down the midgate to extend it to an 8-foot bed. So you could, if you take out the midgate, no more rear seats, you could put in an entire sheet of drywall or an entire sheet of plywood in the back there.
Cool.
So that would be, that's perfect for me. The only other, truck thing that I do that I would worry about is what's its towing capacity. I haven't read that. If its towing capacity is I would assume just based on looking at it, it's somewhere around 6,000 to 7,000 pounds. That would be fine. If it's not, if it's more 2,000 pounds, then, I have a trailer that weighs on its own 1,200. So if I had only 800 pounds of available capacity to put stuff in that trailer, that would really limit what I could do. So, for people in my situation where I do tow sometimes and I need, probably around 6,000 pounds would be fine for me. If this truck can tow that, it would be just an absolutely perfect truck. I don't see why not. Or if you just don't tow. not everyone tows.
I would I have used for a truck, but not. I don't really tow anything. It just carries a bunch of stuff. But also, I'm worried for towing. Like already, the truck has kind of a limited range unless you get the extended range. So and from what I hear, like towing really brings down the range. So and I also don't know what kind of charge plug it has, but
it has a NAX plug, the Tesla style.
Okay,
yeah. So based on my own truck, I get around 19 miles per gallon unloaded. But if I'm towing, I get around 13 miles per gallon. So it takes out about a third of my mileage. So I would guess this truck, if it's doing 150 unloaded, if you start to tow, you're probably going to get under 100 miles range on it.
Yeah. And that's fully charged to fully depleted, which you don't want to do either. So you're probably looking like 50-mile range, 60-mile range.
Yeah, you're probably looking at across town and back.
Yeah.
You're not going to be towing something across the country with this thing.
Well, you could. You just stop a lot.
Yeah, unless you want to take an entire week to do it. But most people don't do that. Most people, if they're towing something, they're hitching up their boat and towing it 50 miles, right? Then they're going to be at the lake all day, and as long as there's a charger at the lake, you could just charge it there while you're out on the boat, and then when you're done, it should be fully charged and head on back home.
I don't know if you'll have a charger at the lake, but it'd be cool.
Check your local lakes.
Yeah. But there's probably one nearby, and you just have a little extra break while you're waiting for the truck to recharge. Because people complain about it, but it's not that big of a deal to wait for your car to charge.
Yeah. On the way back from a recent trip, I had my Steam Deck, and I was literally just playing video games. It's you got our car charges kind of slow, so it takes about 40 minutes to an hour to charge from 10% to 90%. I think it's 40, 10% to 90, and then another 15 minutes, 90 to 100. Yeah, because it really slows down once you go above 90. Yeah. But yeah, I just sat on my Steam Deck playing Baldur's Gate the entire time. It was great,
Cool.
You can always just find something to do. I feel like we're always so impatient when we drive nowadays. It's driving. Driving is incredibly fast compared to what we used to do. Yeah.
And being forced to take a break like that regularly, which is, it's still, you have a long range before you have to break. You have to stop to charge. So it's not exactly a bad thing.
Yeah, getting out and walking around is awesome. Thank you for tuning in to How the Tech Are You? We try to do this show every week, and we put it out in multiple segments on YouTube. And if you'd like to check out our other shows, you can do that at echoplexmedia.com. If you'd like to support us, you can do that at eplex.store or patreon.com/echoplex. And there should be another video for you to click on right around here. Have a great tech and week.